Hello, welcome back to Rev Solutions. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications and give us a big thumbs up. So today we've got the HYOSUNG AQUILA GV125S. It's a 2020 edition and it starts around £3,595. It's the only water-cooled V-twin cylinder motorcycle in the category, and it comes with a 60-degree ratio which gives it a nice amount of torque for its power. Now it comes in two colours, comes in all black. This is the Storm Grey edition, which gives it a nice bit of colour, just breaks it up that a little bit. So the low riding position of this bike gives it a really nice silhouette. It's almost a cross between an American chopper and an urban cafe racer. So the instrument panel, it's located asymmetrically on the handlebars, which gives it a nice look, and it comes with an analog trip counter and an LCD screen, so it's a nice mixture of both. It's got a combined braking system, so when you apply the rear brake it also applies the front brake just to give you a little bit extra control. And it's a lot more agile than its predecessor. They've shortened it and they've put a bigger tyre on it, so the cornering is really nice. It's made it a lot more agile. So the torque of this bike is 10 Newton meters or 7.4 foot-pounds of torque at 1000 RPM. It's 14.75 brake horsepower. So you really notice that torque in the lower power. Compared to the other bikes in this category, it's really got that nice low-end torque. It's liquid-cooled engine, and it's 5 speeds, 1 down, 4 up, which is basically all the gears that you get in a 125 category. It's an electric start, so nice and easy to start, and it's an electronic fuel injection. The front suspension is the conventional upside down forks, 35mm 136mm travel. The rear suspension is a double spring 67mm travel suspension. The brakes, front brakes are 270mm single disc with twin pistons. So the front brake is a 270mm disc, single disc with twin pistons. The curb weight of the HYOSUNG is 165 kilos, so it is quite a heavy bike for a 125, but when you're riding it, you don't feel that at all. It feels really light and nimble. The length is 2085mm, so it's slightly shorter than its predecessor, and it just makes it so much more agile. The height is 1050mm and the seat height is 710mm, so it's a nice low seat. As I said before, I'm 5'6" and I'm flat-footed on this bike. It's so comfortable. The fuel tank is 12 litres, so it's got a nice, good size fuel tank on it. Takes you long distance, really cheap to fill up. Okay, so let's see what this HYOSUNG rides like. So it's got a nice little engine sound to it, a little bit of a rumble, even though it is only a 125, but you can. V-twin does actually sound quite nice. So you do have to change it off first quite quickly, then it does redline quite quickly. But I think that's a bit of a problem with all 125s really. That's not just unique to this bike. Cornering on it though is really nice. The suspension is a little bit hard, even though it's got the dual suspension at the back. It is quite hard. So going over bumps, you do feel it. Let's try this one. I'm only doing 15 miles an hour. You can really feel it on the way down. The seating position is actually really comfy. I really didn't think I'd like the cruiser Sportster type seating position, and it did take me a little while to get used to having my feet forward and sort of stretching for the gears a little bit. but it's nice, actually nice and easy once you get used to it. I do feel with the gear lever, I do have to sort of stretch my toe, sort of point it and stretch it down to get under the gear lever. Another little problem I find is when I stop and I put my leg down, the heel rest is exactly where I want to put my leg, so I sort of feel like I'm catching it before I can pull it down. So I have to sort of think when I'm stopping and wanting to put my leg down, I've got to really think about sort of putting it out and back rather than just being able to just put my leg down without thinking. So the wing mirrors are actually pretty good. Okay, got quite a lot of visibility. They're nice and low. I don't have to put my arms in too much to be able to see behind me. They don't really stick out much further than the handlebars either, so you don't really have to pull them in too much. If you've got to get through a tight gate or a tight gap, you haven't really got to worry about them. You haven't really got to worry about the wing mirrors because they're basically the same width as the handlebars. Even though this bike is 165 kilos, so it is quite heavy for a 125, when you're on it, it feels so light. And it does actually react really, really nicely to your body position. You sort of lean into a corner and you can feel it just go. So it's actually quite nice to ride. So one problem I have found with this bike is the horn. You press it, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You can press and hold it and it'll stop after sort of a second. So I don't know if it's a loose connection, if that's just a problem with this bike or if it's with all the bikes, but yeah, for the money you're paying for this bike, just little things like the pass light, it just feels cheap. So the torque for a 125, it is quite torquey compared to some of the other 125s that I've ridden. You can really notice the power when you start off on this bike, just pulling away. It's got that little bit of extra power, a little bit of extra torque. It actually makes a massive difference in the 125 category. So another little problem that I have found is the air filter on the side. I do feel it on my lower leg. So when I'm sort of just sitting here, you can feel it just vibrating through your leg, and if you don't change up a gear or you're revving it quite high, you can really feel the vibrations through that air filter onto your leg. The seat is so comfy. It's nice and wide. Really nice. I think you could probably do a fair bit of time on this bike and still feel quite comfy. Cornering is so easy. It just throws itself into the corners and it is so agile, and you just lean. So this is a really good looking bike for a 125, a little cafe racer style. It's really going to turn heads. The finish for £3,500, there's a few little bits on it that could be better. The little kill switch just feels cheap, as well as the pass one. It could be just slightly better. Also, if you rub the handlebars, the paint actually comes off and you can see where it's rubbed and it's starting to go back to the metal. So it would have been nice for over £3,500 that you're paying for this bike. HYOSUNG could really do with just finishing it nicer, doing higher quality paint, higher quality finishes, especially when you can get a KTM, a Kawasaki, a Honda for roughly about the same price, and that's going to have a decent finish. So the handlebars, they've got a slight dip, but they are quite nice position. My legs are a little bit far forward, but not too bad. It's a very basic setup on this bike. You've got your indicators, your pass light, your horn, your start button and your kill switch. That's basically it. I actually quite like the wing mirrors on this. They're in a really good position, they're nice and low, they look quite stylish and they really match the finish of the bike. The instrument control is again really basic. You have an analog rev counter. This revs out at 10,000 RPM, so you do have to change up the gears slightly quickly, especially out of first gear. And you've got an LCD display. It gives you your fuel, your temperature and how fast you're going. You have a trip counter. The only thing this bike doesn't have is a gear indicator, which I quite like on a bike. It does tell you when you're in neutral, but then you don't know what gear you're in. So again, for just over £3,500, there's other bikes out there that do have gear indicators. So really, I think HYOSUNG could incorporate that into this bike. Come around to the front, you've got the nice big indicators. They do look really nice. The style of it, they're sort of just slightly off out of the gear, out of the frame, and they just really look in your face. I really like that. Got a nice big spotlight headlight. Again, it's just the style of the bike. It really pops out at you. It makes you look at it again. The forks, I quite like this. They put just rubber covers over the forks, and I think it makes it look really smart. It just makes the black design, it just makes it flow through the bike. Again, with the front hugger, it's black, shiny, goes with the bike, looks really smart. You got your reflectors, which are standard. They do go with the indicators quite nice, so it just gives that little pop of colour. You can pull away fairly quickly. So the instrument display, it's nice and clear. It gives you miles per hour, gives you your fuel, gives you temperature of the bike, time. So it's got a fair bit of information on there. It's still quite basic. However, I do feel I've really got to move my head down to look at it. I can't just glance down, I've got to move my head to actually look at it. But still, nice, clear. You don't have to look at it for long. You can just top your head down, look up again. Let's try corners. Oh, it's really enjoyable through the corners. I really didn't think I'd like this bike. So there are a few little pros and cons really on this bike. I think for the money you're paying, there's a few little bits that could be better quality, mainly sort of with the styling and the design, the paintwork, the finish, but it's still a fun little bike to ride. It's comfy, the seating position is actually really nice. Your feet aren't too far forward like a proper chopper style bike, but you're in a nice seating position. The gap between the seat and the tank, I don't notice that at all. I don't know if I'd like the design to maybe be a little better, just so the design of it flowed a little bit better, but sitting on it I don't notice it at all. So again, pulling out fast, so about 25 miles an hour you have to change up, so it's not too bad. You do reach that fairly quickly for a 125. So the clutch is nice, it's not too stiff, not too hard to hold in. The brakes, I don't really notice the combined braking too much. It does help with the cornering a little bit. I sort of really use your back brake through corners or just when you're going really slow. But yeah, I haven't really felt any difference. So you don't get a windscreen with this, it doesn't come with the style of the bike. I haven't really gone fast on it to know what the wind resistance would be like. I'm doing about 30-40 miles an hour and I haven't noticed any real sort of air pressure on my chest. Oh, it's so easy, it just goes around the corners. It's actually very nice. It does make it so easy to ride this bike. So just going up to 40. So I do miss having a gear indicator. I think, again, for the price that you're paying for this bike, a gear indicator wouldn't be too much to ask. Maybe that's just me being spoiled with all the other 125s that I've ridden. But I suppose it's something you get used to, or if this is your first bike, you wouldn't know any different. So yeah, it does have quite a high brake horsepower. For the 125 category, it's 14.75 brake horsepower, so it's just below the legal limit. And I think it does make all the difference in such a small category. In the 125 category, it does make all the difference. That little bit of extra power. So would I get one of these? I actually like the riding position and the style of the bike a lot more than I thought I would. It has given me a taste of the sportster type of bike, so I think for that part I would. I don't think I'd buy one brand new. I think for the price that you pay, you can get maybe a second-hand Honda or KTM or Kawasaki, and you'd get a better build quality. However, if you are looking for a nice new bike, nice cheap bike, yeah, it's okay. There are a few little niggles on it. The front tyre of this bike looks really smart. Again, they've done the black spokes. It's a 16-inch rim, 120/80 tyre. And around to the front, well, nice feature of this, they do give you a radiator grille, but it is plastic. So I think if I had this bike, I would change it to a nice black metal one, just to give you a bit more protection. And again, for paying over £3,500 for a 125, I would expect this to be metal to start with. So the air filter is on the side of this bike, and I think it looks really cool. The little sticker they've got on it just gives it a little pop of colour, and it just makes the style of the bike, it just goes with everything. It makes it look really nice. You can also see the nice V-twin engine sat either side of the air filter as well. So on the side, it's got this nice shiny sticker saying the name of the bike, and it doesn't pop out too much. I think it just looks nice. It's very sort of sleek, goes with the design, really nice. You've got a nice black exhaust on this bike, nice and long, matches the back of the bike, makes it look really smart. I'd probably prefer it shiny. It does come as matte, so I don't know if you can change that or how easy that would be, but that's just personal preference. So coming around to the rear of the bike, you have twin rear suspension, so it's this on both sides. Again, they've covered it in black. It just goes with the bike, rather than being chrome or silver. It just looks really nice. The rear tyre is 150 wide, 80 high on a 15-inch rim. So it's slightly smaller rim at the back, but a slightly wider tyre. Coming round to the rear, nice and basic at the back, you have your brake light and your indicators. I don't think you'd even need a rear tail tidy on this bike, because your registration plate is so close, it already looks nice and compact. Now the seat on this bike, it is really nice and comfy. It looks really nice. It's nice material. It's got a nice design on it. However, if it's raining and you don't cover it, it just soaks the water into there. So you sit on it, you get a really wet bum. So I would say if you're going to leave it out in the rain, cover the seat. It's not waterproof. There's also a gap between the tank and the seat as well. I didn't really notice that when I was riding, because my legs sort of pushed my bum a little bit further back. Personal design, you might feel it, you might not, you might like it, you might not. So if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, press the bell for notifications. If you like the video, give us a big thumbs up, And until next time, ride safe.